All right. And it looks like we're live. Hi, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, apparently, depending on where you are with this crew. My name is Megan. I'm the Director of Marketing and Partnerships here at Orita. And I'm joined by some amazing women today. We have Hannah Spicer from Hannah Spicer Consulting, Kerri McDonald from Greenhouse Agency, and Whitney Caldwell from Code and Cart. So I'm going to just go right into introductions, starting with Hannah, so these amazing women can tell you a bit about themselves.
Thank you, Megan. Thanks for having me. My name's Hannah. I've worked in e-commerce and digital marketing for over 20 years. At Hannah Spicer Consulting, we focus on Klaviyo optimization, and we work with premium and fashion, luxury, fashion and beauty brands to help them optimize their email marketing.
Hi, Whitney Caldwell with Code and Cart. I've been in e-comm for about 12 years now. Got my start at a smaller Nordstrom company, then worked for a small men's leisure athletic wear company on Shopify, seeing the whole 360 view of building a brand, then decided to move on to the agency side. Worked as a project manager, moving my way up at 2 agencies, eventually becoming director of client services. And then I decided to do my own thing and create Code and Cart, which is a boutique growth agency. We specialize in web development, design, and UX strategy.
Amazing. Hey guys, I'm Kerri. I'm co-founder of The Greenhouse. I've been in e-commerce now for about 8 years. I was originally brand side as director of marketing for a 8-figure beauty brand, helped them scale through an acquisition, and then afterwards took my love and passion for retention marketing and spun off The Greenhouse. We've been in business now for about 4 years. We're a retention focused agency, so helping with all things email, SMS, direct mail, loyalty, subscriptions, etc. And yeah, excited to chat today.
Amazing. So there's one really fun thing that I think all of us actually have in common is that we're all on the brand side. I also started my career at a fashion brand with VF Corp. I was working with Nautica. So I would love to, kind of just launch right in on how everyone's journey into e-commerce really started. And I'd love to, start with you and hear a bit more of like where you began in the e-commerce space, what like inspired you to the point that you're at and like really just, taking things by the helm here. So I'd love to hear a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually studied English at university and I wanted to have a career in fashion journalism, but made a kind of slight split path and was working in the press and marketing department at Harvey Nichols, which is kind of like our Saks Fifth Avenue. And I was writing editorial for the website there before it was e-commerce. So that shows how old I am. And then got really heavily involved with that first e-commerce launch. And we did that in a very gradual way. So we just did beauty first, got that live. Then we added fashion and all of the other departments. So that was an incredible learning experience. And then I've worked at other brands like Stella McCartney and De Beers, again, with that kind of general e-com digital marketing background. And then I started to focus more on the email and CRM side of things. And I didn't ever plan to work for myself. I went back after work after having my second child and I just couldn't get the flexibility that I needed. This was pre-COVID, so no working from home, no work laptop, nothing. And it wasn't working. So I took a leap of faith and that was just over 6 years ago now. And I haven't looked back. And I've got the variety I needed, but loads of other benefits that I didn't foresee. So yeah, it's been a ride, but I'm very grateful to be where I am today.
That's incredible. Whitney, I saw some nodding as well of, that flexibility after having kids. I know you started your agency, I believe, like about a year ago, right?
Yeah, I did. Flexibility is totally key. I have 3 kids myself, and the last one was born in April last year. So it's a turbulent ride when at the time I was director of client services at another agency. I was managing a lot of clients of my own, as well as managing a team of project managers. And being able to have that flexibility is key when I had a baby at home with me. So being a founder, it's great being able to call the shots, having that flexibility when you need it, scheduling around your time, and working late hours if you need to, because you need to take some time off during the day. So yeah, it's been a great journey.
It's awesome. And Kerri, as another co-founder, incredible in this space, how do you really, set that standard for like for remote or hybrid work with your teams? Like, how do you make sure that, people are balancing their actual day-to-day life with like the things that need to get done at the company?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard for us. Like, we spend a lot of time like building the culture, and just like driving home what culture means to us, what it means to our team members, and how we kind of, all believe in that and treat each other in a way that like we all respect the culture. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the agency life is a grind, and
Oh, yeah.
a lot of team members that come from the agency space are at some point experiencing burnout in their life. And so it's been very important to me, and to this day I'm on this journey of like, how do I make the work feel good for everyone, right? How do I make it so that my clients feel like they're getting the best that they can out of us, but also that my team is not burning out on the back end? And it's a very hard balance. But when it comes down to like remote work, I think you just have to hire people with like integrity, having people that have integrity and then aligned with like what you're doing, like either you as a person or the company in general. And then they'll show up.
It's amazing. What are some of the things that you've really, like loved or appreciate about like the remote aspect with the team?
I don't know. I like working from home myself,
Yeah.
but nothing beats an in-person environment. We did a retreat last year, and you just like you get so much done so much faster, and you can collaborate and just answer questions, and there's a sense of community. So I mean, it's good because people love it, I guess, for their flexibility.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of like building a company, you can't beat in person. Like I don't think anything beats it. And if anybody says otherwise, I don't believe.
Whitney, Hannah, any takes on that one? Any fighting starting at like the 5-minute mark?
No, I was going to say, I think a big thing for me that I love about remote working, and I'm really happy that I was in the office every day pre-kids that work from. I absolutely have got friends that I've made that I've been friends with for 20 years, and it was brilliant. And I definitely sometimes feel lonely and like I'm missing out on that interaction for sure. The benefit for me for working from home, and I go into London one day a week, and if we've got client meetings, I can go to them. But for me, my health's a big priority for me at the moment. I had breast cancer 2 years ago. So for me to be able to go for an hour's walk in the woods every day is a massive priority and something I can fit in because I'm working from home and I can just do that. So that's a big win for me.
It's amazing. Yeah. And congrats on being a survivor. It's a hard journey.
Thanks.
For sure.
So it looks like everyone is building really incredible companies across the board. But let's start getting more into like the nitty gritty of e-commerce, because I know that's really the fun of it. Hannah, you said email marketing is a brand's secret weapon. You also talked about, coming from that background more of really looking at things more holistically before you got into retention and CRM. What are brands not doing right when it comes to email CRM today? Like where are people missing the mark?
Yeah, I think one place, which is something that was happening when I was in-house as well, and I think it's still happening now, is that there is such a strong focus and pressure on the kind of day-to-day trade emails that they're sending out, things like new in and promotions and bestsellers. Teams aren't given the time to sit back and look at the automation side of things. And those automated emails, or flows as they're called in Klaviyo, are the ones that will drive you your higher open click and conversion rates. So unfortunately, those are like where a lot of the potential is sitting, and our teams aren't really given the time to actually go and look at those and constantly optimize and add to them. And I think the other thing is smart segmentation. So I think either clients don't have enough data or they don't know what to do with it, and they are segmenting a little bit. They might be segmenting by email engagement, so sending to a pot of people who are opening and clicking emails, but they're not doing anything more than that. So they're not necessarily segmenting by life cycle stage or by preferences or by other kind of zero and first party data that they've got access to. And that means, again, that there's less relevance. There's more kind of batch and blast sends. And I think the problem with email is I think there's still people in a business who will always say, just send more emails to more people. And you probably do get, a really good revenue hit from that, but it's not a long-term strategy and it doesn't keep your database happy. So I think it's really key that we're trying to bring in more automation, more smart segmentation to kind of help with that progress, especially as there's more and more inbox fatigue.
Yeah. Whitney, do you run into that with clients of like having to talk them off the just send another email ledge
Yes, all the time. I feel like there's
without naming
my
names?
place is my place is always in the middle where people either want to send too many emails or not enough emails. Like they're
And
always looking for like, what's the best practice? What should I do? There's even some clients of like, do I need a email flow? And the answer is yes, yes, you do. Send at least one email a week.
yeah. Okay. Interesting. And Kerri, like when it really comes to, setting up email, like, you guys are more in the weeds. Like what are some of those like flows that people really need to have in place? Like what are some of the things that people are overlooking, those opportunities that they're missing to connect with their customers?
Yeah, I think for me, there's core flows that every business needs that generate 90% of the revenue. You heard I'm gonna butcher it, but there's some rule somewhere that's how you're supposed to spend, most of your time driving like 80% of the things that drive the most, revenue or impact, right? Those are gonna be all your core flows, which is like the welcome, browse abandonment, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, post purchase, right? And I think that other flows are important. And do they help you like reach the customer at the right time? Are they very smartly designed? Yes. But at the same time, like spending time like optimizing the core flows through like A/B test, creating different versions on that browse abandonment. Did they view one product versus viewing 10 products? That's a different type of user. So I think for me, like people don't think about the systems as smartly as they need to really like drive those increases because you setting up as many flows as possible is not going to be nearly as impactful as you like tweaking the ones that are generating 80% of your revenue.
Mm.
So yeah.
No, I think it's a good point, right? Like sometimes the tried and true is the way to really do it and really maximizing the impact you can actually have within one of those flows. Setting up a different browse abandon for someone that's visited the site 5 times versus 10 times, for someone that's purchased in the past versus like they haven't purchased in the past. Like really, really digging in on those core areas. Just because it's a standard doesn't mean it can't be further honed in on and like made better in that space. What are other channels in like the retention space that people really should be like thinking about? What are other ways to continue talking to your customers beyond just email?
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you ask now. We're about to launch a roadmap for retention, basically like 0 to 100 million, like all the tools and strategies that you need, like at every stage of business. Because what I've found is that like everything is so busy right now in e-commerce, right? There's so many tools, there's so many programs. You can go on the Shopify app store and download 100 apps tomorrow. And, people would think that they need a loyalty program when they're $1 million in revenue, or they think that they need direct mail, or they need these certain things because they've heard, Hexclad or Ridge is doing it. And well, you're not a 9-figure company. So maybe you should just stick with what works for the revenue level that you're at. So I'm excited to get that onto the community and start talking more about that. But, as far as retention goes, like I've heard a lot of people just talk about it from the perspective of like email and SMS, and it's so much more. It's like you think anything that's going to make a customer come back or anything that would break the customer's trust in your business. So that comes down to even just like having like, is your product good enough? Is it something that people want? When they get it, are they going to be excited to buy more or gift it? Or are they going to have a bad experience and then never come back? You can't out market a bad product. You can't out retention hack a bad product. Right. And so it's same with a shipping experience, right? Like if my package is getting lost or it takes you 7 days to fulfill my order, like I'm going to just go to a company that will fulfill it faster and has a similar quality, because most of the products out on the market right now are not unique products. Like everyone's duping each other. Everyone's like, we're all selling the same version of the same things across multiple brands. So then it just comes down to like, do you have a better experience, a better brand than the other brand? And that's how you win in retention. Like, yeah, email, SMS, they're important. Loyalty, direct mail, like you should have them. But there's so many things at the core, I think, that brands don't think about enough or don't focus on enough. They're just like really a part of the retention strategy.
I'm like dropping hot takes here. I love it. Whitney, Hannah, do you have anything to add to that? It's like, Kerri, I love that. I think you called out the thing a lot of people don't call out, which is you can't outmarket a bad product.
No.
Yeah, I would say like along those lines, I see the same thing just in like the development, the design, the strategy world. Everybody's looking to brands with $1 million budgets to replicate what they're doing. And I think it's so easy to just get lost in the weeds of possibilities, to have like videos all over the page and product pages with color shifting icons and scroll triggered animations. But it's so easy to lose the plot. Like at the end of the day, your site needs to answer basic questions like what's the product, who's it for, why do I want to buy it? If a customer can't figure that out in 10 seconds, nothing else matters. Like your graphics don't matter, your videos all over the page don't matter. What's your product? Why should we buy it? How is it differentiating? You don't need $1 million budget to answer that question. You just need to nail the basics, and then from there, layer on all those fancy, nice visuals.
Hannah, anything to add?
And I just to add as well, the customer experience. So what service are you giving your customers? How are you helping them when things do go wrong? Yeah, again, you can have a million flows in your account, but like, are you responding to your customers and actually letting them speak to a person and solve their problems when things go wrong? I think that's important as well.
And can I add on to that of Hannah, you're completely right. Sorry to Megan to derail, but like, are you or someone on your team responding to your client, like your customers, in a way that is actually good or helpful? Are you over relying on AI and frustrating them? I had a scenario recently where I signed up for, I pre-ordered a product that was launching, and I pre-ordered it as a VIP. So I was supposed to be one of the first customers to get my order, and it was marked as shipped on the day that it launched, but I never got it for 2 weeks. And I'm reaching out to customer service and they're answering me, and it's just an AI bot. I could tell it's all AI generated. They're saying, your item is shipped, your item is shipped. And I'm like, no, literally it's still in pre-transit. You didn't even give it to USPS. Like, this is anyone even looking and caring? It wasn't until I called them out and was like, these are the core values your company says that you follow. Can someone please just exemplify those and just figure out where my package is? And they sent me another one and it's getting delivered today. And like that, experience can just really turn customers off. So it's like, it's so important, Hannah. And I know we're going to talk about AI, but it's like, yeah, we want to do things smart, but like we can never forget that, like how important the customer is, and every interaction that they have with the brand is so important. We cannot mess it up.
And I think, Kerri, you bring up a really important point I don't think people realize, is that points of friction are actually your greatest opportunity to create a loyal customer. At a cancellation, having a really clear, easy process, or say having like that promotion, something that keeps you on, like having an issue with your shipping, your quality of product, things like that, having someone that handles it, goes above and beyond, makes you feel really heard and cared about, that like gives you that confidence to make that next order, to say, oh, this was a one-off mistake versus this is the experience I can expect from this brand. And I know that like Chewy does this incredibly well, like probably the gold standard of this. When someone cancels a recurring order, pets do cross the rainbow bridge at a certain point, and they're known to, send flowers, send a gift, like send like a condolences card. And like that builds a really amazing relationship at a point where like someone is typically churning from a company. So like being able to take that point of friction and go above and beyond is a way to actually really build customer value, even more so than just a solid, like, I ordered my thing and arrived experience. So there's a ton of ways for us to like really tap into our customers. And I think that retention is, like you said, that like very amazing unlock for building those relationships. But we did, Kerri, you said AI, so now I got to go that way. So here at Orita AI, we've never talked about AI before. AI
Do you guys even know what AI is?
What is it, Dan?
We could talk about it later, Meg. Don't worry.
Okay, just give me the download later on. But obviously, AI is a buzzword. Artificial intelligence is coming up everywhere. There's different models. The way Orita uses this, for example, we use machine learning to help brands figure out who actually wants to hear from them right now. So which of their customers are actually interested in engaging. That is one way to use AI, is not like the agentic AI, which I think a lot of us are familiar with, like Kerri, your chatbot experience that just drove you in circles. But there's a lot of AI tooling that's coming out. There's visual AI tooling, as we've seen on things like Midjourney. There's ChatGPT, which like helps like do like large data queries or writes questionable copy. But what are some of the AI driven tools, approaches, What are some things you're actually excited about that are saving time, that are getting rid of redundant work in areas like you don't need? Whitney, I'll start with you. What's kicking it positive in the AI space for you?
Yeah, I think AI, it's such a powerful tool when it's used intentionally, like to save time, to reduce headcount, to make smarter decisions. We use it every day at Code and Cart, especially running a lean team. We use it with our clients as well. I love the way tools like Gorgeous are using AI for above and beyond customer service, or how like Shopify and Rebuy are leaning into personal product recommendations. Even data tools like SEMrush and Northbeam are becoming way more accessible thanks to AI-powered insights. But I think like where it gets sideways is where brands go all in on AI with no oversight. Just this week, I've seen a handful of fully generated AI e-commerce sites, like vibe-coded themes, chat GPT copy that's full of the M dashes. Even their product images are fully AI generated.
Really?
And it just feels so lazy. AI should enhance your brand, not replace the thoughtfulness behind it.
I appreciate that. Also, like, how do you know what you're getting if it's an AI generated photo?
Exactly. There was this one site in particular that I was looking at that had this AI generated product image, and the text on the image was different than the product title. And I'm like, look, man, this is just alarm bells all around. Hard no, I'm not reading further down the page. I'm moving on to something else.
Makes a lot of sense. Carrie, how about you?
Yeah, I think Whitney, made a good point. I think it's all about, and I am just hounding this with my team like all day, every day. It's like AI is getting really good and really smart. It's not like fully there yet in a lot of ways. But I think the team members that can learn to like leverage AI to make their output, 10x more, or make them more efficient, make them smarter, make them better, they're just going to win in the long term. Overall, for us, obviously, like I said, in an agency world, it's a lot of work, a lot of movement, a lot of moving pieces. It's also a lot of, just like mundane work, like sending things for client approvals, right? And so just trying to like leverage ways to like cut down on the mundane work so that the team members can like do the things that they enjoy and appreciate. On the brand side of things, I think leveraging AI for like reporting. I'm not super technical, but I'm smart enough that I can, figure out how to hook, Claude up to Klaviyo using the MCP and AI. I know those words, those terms. So
That's your
I'm
acronym
doing
list,
something.
Rowan?
Doing something right. And yeah, it's really cool what it can do from a reporting standpoint. It like makes a lot smarter, a lot better to get information. Like if I can just ask that, for the information rather than like digging through my Klaviyo flows, like that's making everyone more valuable and better insights and knowing what to iterate on. And then of course, not to plug, but our lovely host Orita, like I love companies, like the segmenting is a huge thing because, we have like lists of sometimes millions of customers. And Meg, we were on a call one time and you're like, we're just humans. Like, what do we know about all these millions of customers, right? Like let the robots like segment them smarter and better. So it's like, AI can just do a lot more processing a lot faster and a lot better. So I think it's been a great tool from that perspective.
And I think that, well, for one, thank you for the Orita plug. But I think on the other end, like what you were talking about with like Claude, with reporting, with plugging it into your data, I think that's such a critical part of using any of these platforms. Like you have to know what data you are querying from to trust the outputs that you are getting. And I think that's like a really, really important piece that I think people forget or don't understand, like why like ChatGPT hallucinates, because its goal is not to give you accurate information, it's to give you an answer. So when you are using one of these like tools to query your own database of like your own information, you can trust the outputs that are coming out of it. And I think it's really, really important to think about that with like any questions you're asking. Like I use ChatGPT to like when I'm like pulling down a lead list to find URLs of companies. So I'm like, go search the internet for this company and give me their URL. Like I know what it's looking at so I can trust the outputs, and I will like get as specific as I can about like what it should be. Don't answer it if you don't know. So really trusting, like if you are using one of these products, like really understand like what you're using it for and make sure that you're using it for the right function. Otherwise, it's not going to drive you the results you need. It's not going to give you the right picture with the right text on it. Hannah, how about you? What's happening in the AI world across the pond?
Yeah, so I think client side, they're definitely using AI to help generate ideas for their content and campaign. So at that kind of brainstorming, planning stage, it's definitely useful. But I'd echo your thoughts on the copy. That's not there yet. And especially with more kind of premium brands, they're absolutely not using it for writing any of their kind of marketing copy, because that's, it's got to be quite a particular tone of voice. I don't think we're quite there yet. And then with my Klaviyo hat on, I'm loving some of the kind of predictive analytics that are coming in there. So things like the next best cross-sell flow, where the timing and the product is completely personalized to that customer. I'm seeing some really exciting results from that. So yeah, they're coming in with some new functionality, which is really exciting.
It's interesting. So I think you kind of touched on it a bit as well, just kind of leaning in there more. We're seeing platforms that we use themselves like start building in AI functionality. And Whitney, I think you also talked about this with like a lot of like the technology products and tools, like say like Gorgeous, for example, like we're now starting to like build an AI component of their business. You're even seeing it in Gmail, like Gemini is now popping up and being like, you want me to help you write an email? So like how do I think I would like to know, like, how do you feel about these different like platforms themselves, like again, using their own data to create their own database? I guess what is the value of using like a brand specifics, like AI tooling functionality versus a broader piece? And like where do we see that going?
Yeah, I think it comes back to the intentionality of it. You need to be intentional with what you're building and how your users are using it. Like, I love Gorgeous's newest AI implementation, where they have essentially like a shopper in your store to help guide you and answer these questions. Like, it's almost like shopping with your bestie. Like, hey, do you think that this like red dress would be appropriate for this event that I have coming up? Or would this navy one be a little bit better? I think that's such a smart and intentional and out of the box use case for it. For some of the other apps, like using Gemini and Gmail and like helping you shortcut your time to help write emails, again, I think it's how important is that email that you're writing? Are you writing that email to a potential customer or potential client? It's probably something that you want to write yourself, not rely on Gemini. But if you are just doing a simple response to something that really doesn't have that much stake in the game,
Yeah.
sure, we're going to save 5 minutes here, just do an AI answer and move on to the next thing to, manage your calendar a little bit better.
Makes a lot of sense. And have you started using any of Google's AI tools? Are you writing your own emails?
I'm writing my own at the moment, but I mean, a lot of the emails in my kind of pitch and sales process are within a tool anyway. It's in an automated CRM tool. So when I'm actually writing my emails, I'm just doing them myself.
Kerri, anything on your side?
I guess I would just say like my thoughts on that matter is like, I love Klaviyo, but I have, had instances of using their AI where it's just like basic and unhelpful. So I think that platforms are leveraging AI because they know it's trending and they know that they think that's what people want. But really what we want is like the best tool that we can get, right? And maybe that means AI, but maybe not. Maybe don't just put a GPT wrapper with your branding on your website just to say you have AI functionality. Like maybe we just want a better product. And maybe that means that you need to focus on that, right? So it's like, I've found that sometimes platform AI has been a little, in some cases, underwhelming for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Whitney was like, just understanding the problems that you're solving and what you're trying to solve for, right? And if it's to make things better, smarter, faster, more efficient, like know what problem you're solving for. And then find the tool or solution that can do that. Yeah. Because like in the moment, if you try to use Klaviyo AI to build a segment, you're going to spend 5 minutes going back and forth fighting with that thing to build the right segment when you could just build it yourself. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a really good point of like how important is it to have that product out first, be first to market versus have it in a like full baked version. I think, Kerri, like how much would you trust like a 2.0 version? Do you think like you would still go back and test it and try it even if you haven't had a great experience on like the first version of an AI tool that's being built into a platform?
Probably. I mean, it just depends on like how it's marketed and how they communicate it, right? Like, I mean, that's what everything comes down to these days is like marketing and communication, right? And so if they could sell me that they really made it better, then sure. But, I think that consumers and people in general, but especially like us in this industry, the people that work in the industry, like we're getting smarter at like sussing these things out and like knowing when something is actually legit, like Orita, or, knowing when they just like slapped like a little N8N workflow on the back end or put a GPT in a wrapper and called it a day, right? And so like we kind of know and we can suss these things out. So I think it's just, yeah, kind of knowing what you're trying to solve for and then what tools you trust.
Yeah. I think I can say that one of the things I appreciate of having a career in e-commerce is that I can suss out the bad things really, really quickly. Like I can pick up on like the generated images or like the brands have way too many 5-star ratings for you to be comfortable with. Like all of those like little things. I feel like I'm a better consumer because I've been on the other side the entire time. Well, we're heading into the most consumer time of year, Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Don't say it.
I know.
No.
I have my first BFCM webinar in August, so I apologize for being that guy. But we are heading into it. It is in 2 months, 2.5 months. I don't know. Time is fake. But it is definitely go time for BFCM prep because, especially as agency owners, I know you guys are going to get a call like a week before Black Friday. Like, what should we be doing? And we're not tolerating that anymore. So now that we're getting into Q4, and now we have AI and it's a new year and there's tariffs and chaos. What do we need to do this year? What are the things that brands need to be ready for that's different, that they should be ahead of the game, that their competitors are going to have a leg up on? Whitney, I'll start with you on this one. What do brands need this year for BFCM?
Yeah, I would say this year's BFCM, it feels a little different, but honestly, like haven't we said that the past 3 years? Every year lately has had some new challenge, some new problem, some new this is totally different than what we've seen before. I would say though, right now shoppers want two things. They want certainty and they want value. We're seeing people not just buying gifts, but also using BFCM to stock up or grab something that they've had on their wish list for a while. So it's really important to understand what your customer's looking for and then meet them there. So that might mean volume discounts or finally including bestsellers that never go on sale or even running a strong offer on subscriptions. Whatever the angle is, it needs to feel intentional and not just another blanket sale. As for what to avoid, I would say don't run the exact same promo that you've done 6 times already this year. It's not going to move the needle. Don't save your entire strategy for a last minute launch. Brands that do well for BFCM are prepping their site, their flows, and their offers months in advance. Like you should be starting this week. And finally, don't forget the post-purchase experience. BFCM is a great time to bring in new customers, but fulfillment, support, or comms fall apart, they're not going to be back, just like we said earlier. So get your foundation solid, align your offer with what your audience actually wants, and remember that clarity over complexity every single time.
Love that. Hannah, what's going on your side?
Yeah, I don't know whether you're seeing this in the US, but in the UK, there are more kind of premium and luxury brands each year that are opting out of BFCM and kind of taking a stance and saying this isn't in line with our sustainability or our brand, which I think is great. And they can't afford to just go silent, right? And not try and still be top of mind. So I think if that is your stance, to make sure that you let your customer base know so that they still, if they're looking to shop with you that season, that they will come and do it full price. And then another trend that seems to happen for us every year is that it starts to come in earlier and earlier and promotions are kicking off earlier and earlier. So I think the other important things are to kind of as Whitney said, make sure you're planning as soon as possible. You're starting to warm up your database so that you can, at the time, reach out to hopefully everybody, but in a targeted way, a strategic way. Try and build that anticipation and build your list as well. So kind of say, if you want to be the first to hear about our deals, sign up. So help build your database. And you can also do things like encourage people to create wish lists or save their baskets. So you're kind of trying to gatekeep their spend with you. If they've already been to your site and they've made their Black Friday shopping list, then hopefully they're going to come back and complete that purchase with you as well. So kind of building that anticipation. And one final tip, which I love, which not many brands do, again in the UK, is having what I call a sweep up campaign. So once your promotion has ended, you can then create a segment of people who were active on your site, but they didn't complete a purchase. And then you can extend like a 24-hour, unique offer code and say, looks like you missed out. Whoops, here's 24 hours just for you. That can be an easy way to drive some additional revenue as well once your promotion's ended.
That's brilliant. Giving people that opportunity. And I think, having people make those wish lists, sign up their email to get those alerts, like it gives you really good opportunity to message those people as soon as a sale period starts, as soon as that item that's in their basket has been reduced, and give them that sense of urgency of like, it's here, it's ready for you, and you only have so much time. I really like that thought of those activities that draw people to your site before it's time to purchase, but still get them interested, get them set up and ready for when it is the actual sale period. I think that's brilliant. Kerri, what about you?
So I think like for me, there's like two sides of the story, right? And I think, everything that Whitney and Hannah said was, great ideas, great strategies. For me, I think that the reason I've had so much success like in my marketing career is because I'm just a shopaholic. Man, I got like 6 packages out for delivery today. So I'm just a consumer. I consume all the things and all the brands. That's what makes me such a good marketer. That's what made me such a good marketer in my early days of like, didn't have a marketing background. I didn't study this. So I think it's just like understanding, putting yourself in the mind of the consumer, right? And making sure you're delivering messages that are just resonating with them at that time, right? I'm going on a trip this week and I missed everybody's Labor Day sales. So I didn't get 30% off, but I ordered it afterwards and I ordered express shipping because I want it before my trip. Well, it's a great to say, don't wait until you need it to order the product, right? It's just putting your copy and your positioning in the angle of what you think your consumer is going through at that time. And I think that requires a level of just really understanding your customers and just really understanding who they are and what they value and just understanding who the persona is, and then just speaking directly to them. And then on the flip side, for brands and operators and founders and marketers, everyone's tired this year, man. 2025 was a roller coaster. We all been through a lot this year. I mean, whiplash after whiplash, tariffs, SMS changes, just all the things. And sales have been down across the board. That's just a trend in consumer spending and e-commerce in general. So brands are, I think, in my perspective, what I'm seeing is, I haven't seen brands, get too fancy, but they're also kind of depleted and kind of, not maybe putting their best foot forward to plan as necessary. But we haven't gotten there yet. But one thing I know is going to be for sure is that, I feel like there's going to be more shifts and changes like at the 10-yard line, so to speak, in strategy, because they're going to be seeing these sales numbers come through in real time and they're going to be trying to make up for everything they lost for the whole year. So it's like, I just know I know how brands operate. I know how founders operate. Like if it's the week before Black Friday, if it's the day before Black Friday and they haven't hit their sales numbers, you can bet your email is going to be populated with a message to create a new sales email or upgrade the sale or something. I think, it's just for the teams that you work with and just like as a founder, just like being aware of that and knowing how that affects your teams and things like that. And if you are on a team, just understanding that, it has been a rough year and we need to learn to adapt and we need to try new things. Yeah, that's kind of my take on it. We'll see how it goes.
I think you bring up something really important. It's actually something that Orita's CS team has been focused on talking to our customers, because we do know that when that moment comes and those sales numbers aren't hitting where you wanted them to be hitting, you have to plan ahead. It's interesting. It's the same as like, planning a really good offboarding for your clients is the most important part of a customer relationship. Like planning for you to not hit your goals and your numbers is the best way to actually hit your goals and your numbers and have those. Like, it is not fun sitting around the Thanksgiving table on your phone trying to set up a new campaign because you're not hitting that number and
100%.
like launch out, and then it's not going to be as thoughtful. It's not going to be detail oriented. It's not going to be hitting the right people. So really taking this time right now to say, okay, what do we need to achieve? If we're not hitting it, who are the people that we like target next? How do we want to talk to them so we can still maintain this relationship for later? How do we really build this strong game plan that like, if A does not happen, what is B, what is C, and what is D, so that we can ultimately get to a strong season? Because you're right, it's been a lot of whiplash. Brands are having a tough go of it right now. Consumers are feeling some of that pain, but like they definitely didn't have to feel the pain of like their shipment coming in and costing $200 and then arrives and it's $800 and then they get it off the port and it's $600 all the same. So it's been really tough out there. And really just being prepared for that toughness is going to carry into the season, I think is pretty crucial.
Yeah, you brought up a great point, Megan. Like, we did a training in the past couple of weeks with our team, and I said, the only constant that we know is that things are going to change. So like, make the sale extended email, make 3 versions of the sale email in case they decide to upgrade the offer, make 5 emails in case they want to start it a month early because their competitor did. We have to learn to expect these things. And I think that's a great point too of, I'm going to put it in our Black Friday planning docs for our brands of like, don't just give us your Black Friday offers. Give us your Black Friday offer and then give us your offers, that you're also considering if things go awry and like planning that because, you're right, Megan, like it's inevitable, right? You could tell brands all day long, start planning in August, start planning now, think about it, don't get fancy. Especially if it's a founder-led organization and they're sitting at home checking their Shopify against their sales, like not goals that they're looking for. Like, I mean, I worked with my sister and it was her company and she was like that, at the end of the day, if the sales weren't where she was, like she was next day trying to pivot the strategy. So that's just their mindset. And, we can't fault them for that. We just have to like do our part to like be aware, know that it's going to happen and like work with them on it.
Whitney, Hannah, anything to add? We're officially in the hot take section, so come join.
I feel like we've been.
I love Kerri came in all hot takes. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I would say for Black Friday, it's so tough to decide like what exactly the offer is going to be, but I think like there's a lot of room to take risks. And those risks will either pay off or they may fall flat. Maybe it will work the same as your general, bulk or ballpark, like 20% off everything offer. But I feel like to really set yourselves apart, definitely taking a risk is worth it because, you never know what happens until you jump. And the brands that will win the most are the ones that are going to be getting the most attention.
Hannah, any final thoughts from you on this one?
I was actually going to ask, are you seeing more brands push back and not do promotions with that kind of sustainability messaging in the US or not really? Is it still quite heavy on that side for BFCM?
Yeah, as much as I wish it was we're not just push out more products to push out more products. Yeah, it's something that, actually my background is in sustainability. And so that was what I went to school for. And I find it a really critical part of a lot of these. Actually, at one point, I did go and do the math on how many less emails people sent because of Orita to figure out the carbon output of that. I haven't done anything with that, but I did just want to know for my own edification. And so I have to go look that up. That was like a year ago. So it's a lot larger of a number. I haven't seen many brands pulling back from that perspective. There are a few brands that like as is part of their core ethos, companies like REI or like Patagonia that have like opted out and also push people to, opt outside that I think is like really admirable. And it really pushes people go spend time with your families, go do these activities. This is not the day that you need to do this. And especially with I think the broadening actually of BFCM into like an entire like 6-week holiday period, because people don't need to, queue up around the street for like the TVs at Target or Best Buy anymore. It is offering a bit more flexibility on the in-store piece, but I haven't seen that yet get to the online sector.
I would say brands, man, right now, especially like in our little niche here, like e-commerce, small, mid-size business, and they just want those sales. And they're gonna do whatever they can to get those numbers going up, especially after the year we had in 2025. Um, and I think when, like, to your point, Megan, when REI and Patagonia did do that stuff, like, consumers were talking about it, and, like, I think it did create a nice marketing moment for the brand. But I think a lot of those consumers were then the ones, like, turning to Amazon to, like, get cheaper stuff or, like, get stuff to unite. Like, we're competing with, like, these brands are competing with, like, dupes on Amazon and things like that. And so, like, they have to remain competitive. If a small business who doesn't yet have, product market fit or share of the TAM that they want doesn't participate in these big moments of sales, like, I fear they're going to lose consumers, over that, because right now everyone's just trying to get a deal anywhere they can. Yeah. I've seen a couple brands do it, but I don't think it's a widely adopted strategy here. I think it's quite the opposite. Let's do actually more. Our biggest Black Friday we've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I see that brands that choose to not participate in Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I see a lot of pushback from their customers, like in comments and their social media posts, where people are really disappointed because they're really expecting that sale so that they can, buy those gifts for others, or they can take advantage of the discounts for themselves. And I think that's something that those consumers are really going to remember for the few months afterwards. Like, hey, I would have bought this if you had a Black Friday sale, but you didn't, and I still can't afford it, or I can't justify spending money on it right now. So I'm not going to come revisit that in like 3 months. My financial situation probably isn't going to change in that time. So I think that's something that tends to stick with consumers, and they do remember that. And I do see a lot of friction with the
Yeah, and
companies
I
because of
think
that.
I've seen
I
like
think it
polls where like if they're asking consumers how important is sustainability to you, and they're saying very important, and then they're saying, would you be willing to pay more, or like for it to take 2 more weeks to be delivered? And they're like, no, absolutely not. So
Yeah.
like, while it is a factor, yeah, it doesn't yet come above those factors of price and convenience most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, it depends on the brand, right? Like, for example, like, if Sephora said this year they're not doing their annual, semi-annual 20% off sale, like, I'm gonna be not happy, but,
I
like, I'm
think
not gonna
stores
stop
might get
buying from
set on fire if
Sephora.
they did that.
Okay. Well, I'm not taking it that far, but, like, I'm 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 not gonna be pleased, but I'm still gonna buy from the brand, because Sephora has so much buy-in from their customers. Like, it's a cult following almost at this point. Whereas the brands that we're working with, the brands that we're targeting, the brands that we're talking to, they're not on the level. And just to our point that we talked about in the beginning of this thing, is that they're not on the level of the Sephoras and the Aloe Yogas and the whatever, and the Patagonias and the REIs. Like, every move they make does matter. And I think, like, down the line, you can always shift your branding, but, like, in moments when consumers are valuing price, like, yeah, I think it matters more if you meet them where they're at in that moment.
And Hannah, I have seen versions of discounting that maintain brand image that I think are really interesting. So I had one like luxury cashmere brand that I ran marketing for, and they had these cashmere travel wraps, which are just like sleeping in a cloud on an airplane. So like 100% recommend. And they would only discount those items once a year for 3 days for Black Friday for like 20%. So still not even a huge discount, but like they knew that was their signature item. They knew it was incredibly giftable. They knew it was a gateway item into their entire brand, and they knew how badly people wanted that. So they still maintained all of their other margins, but that one item that they knew that everyone would come and travel and get as a gift, that was their one piece that they would do, one discount a year. DCM, like the Ordinary skincare company, I use all of their skincare products, so there's a plug there. They do Slowvember every year. So like 23% off the entire month of November, don't rush. If you miss it, you do, but you had an entire month. So like you can't really get mad about it. And like you can do it on stores in stores, online, everything like that. So I think there are ways to not hype or like FOMO discount, but also still like find the right ways again to like connect with your customers and offer a discount that will be incredibly valuable to them and will not kill or destroy your margin or your marketing plans.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's ways of doing it that are right for different brands. Totally agree.
Well, it looks like we're almost at time. So before we wrap up, I wanted to let each of you, for one, I would love to hear from each of you just one little piece of advice that you would share, as well as if you would like one shameless plug that you can absolutely add in there. I'm Megan at Orita, Director of Marketing and Partnerships. I would say start planning and contingency planning and backup contingency planning for Black Friday today or last week if you are really on top of it. And of course, Orita offers free email engagement audits to everybody so that you can actually get an idea of who in your list is engaged and start cleaning that up before the holiday season. So you can go to orita.ai to check that out. Hannah, I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Hannah. You can go to my website, which is hspicerconsulting.com. We specialize in Klaviyo optimization for premium and luxury fashion and beauty brands. And you can sign up to my email marketing there where I share lots of tips and best practices. I think my tip would be, I think brands really need to get smart about their segmentation and then how that feeds across into not only their emails via flows and campaigns, but all of their other channels as well. So feeding into social media advertising and direct mail and all of those other channels. So smart segmentation is key.
Whitney?
All right. Yeah, I'm Whitney. I'm the VP of Client Success and a co-founder at Code & Cart. You can find us at codeandcart.com. My piece of advice is throughout Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and just in general with your e-commerce site, I think it's best to always go back to the basics, meet your customer where they're at, make sure that you are representing your products in such a way that is clear about what they are, why someone should buy them, why they should gift them for others. And if you need help with the strategy for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or just the general strategy and storytelling throughout your site, Code & Cart would love to help out.
Amazing. Kerri, bring us home.
Yeah. As I'm Kerri from the greenhouse. We are going to be launching, like I mentioned, our 0 to 100 million retention roadmap next week. So if you do want to get that resource, it's completely free. It's a great resource that we're going to be sharing. Just DM me on LinkedIn. I'll make sure you get access to that. And my takeaway is it's not really related to what we've talked about here today, but I think the single most important thing for any brand and something that a lot of brands aren't focusing on is focus on product market fit. We need to be focusing on how we establish and discover product market fit. That makes any channel easier, every marketing effort so much better. It makes marketing dollars go so much farther. If you focus on product market fit and at the consumer level, figuring out what they want and delivering it to your customers, everything else gets a lot better and a lot easier.
Amazing. Thank you, ladies, so much for your time. Thank you for everyone tuning in live. Have a lovely rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Do you wish your D2C brand had the marketing superpowers of big tech? At Orita.ai, we've done the hard, mathy machine learning work to make that happen. Our advanced AI, once reserved for Silicon Valley giants, finds high-intent customers, pauses those who aren't ready to buy, and even zaps the bots. Over 150 plus e-commerce brands trust Orita to add hundreds of thousands of dollars in incremental revenue with our AI. If you're a marketer at a D2C brand, it's time to level up. Visit Orita.ai for a free email engagement audit and turn your customer list into a revenue engine.